What if working out twice a day or more was the secret to getting in excellent shape, getting the body that you want, all that kind of good stuff after the age of 40? So now I know what a lot of people are already thinking. Like, they're thinking, man, I barely have time to work out once a day. You talking about twice a day or more? But if that's kind of how you feel, then please just kind of hear me out. And I talked about this in a recent video, but like, one thing that I like to look up is I like to look at the exercise routines of athletes, like elite athletes, because their routines are often so different from ours. You know, you don't just get in shape like that because you're a skilled athlete. You get in shape intentionally. And so I recently saw the exercise routine of what's her name? Allison Felix, the very much decorated track sprinter, who is actually even training again at the age of 41 to make a run for the Olympics again, which I think is just awesome because she's my age. And I saw something talking about how she was training back in when she was going to the Olympics in 2012. And she was training for 4.5 hours a day. So I kind of had to warm up for this. I'm just gonna do 3 because I need to warm that up. But again, she was working out 4.5 hours a day. Now granted, this wasn't at the track all day. It was usually like morning time was maybe gonna be track work, a specific kind of track work. Then maybe the afternoon time is gonna be some lifting weights, recovery time, stuff like that. But nonetheless, working out 4.5 hours a day. I was looking at, here, let me change my camera angle real quick. I was looking at, I looked up Michael B. Jordan, the actor, known for a lot of movies at this point, but probably most notably Black Panther, the Creed series, what's that called, Fruitvale Station? I haven't seen that movie yet, but you know, among others. And he was training, let me see, how much was he training? Was it 5 hours a day, 6 days a week, something like that? So think about that. Yeah, think about that. Your body, and he said he was doing that for like 10 months. Your body literally has to change when you're training that much. Now, I know what people say, Sean, you're talking about professional athletes. You're talking about professional actors. You're talking about people who have to do this stuff for a living. But here's the deal. While you might be right, we do choose what we do with our lives. But the other thing to think about is, and I was talking to my kids about this today, you and I are made to move. Just because we live in a country where most jobs are jobs that use your mental faculties, desk jobs and whatnot, are very minimal movement, it doesn't mean that that's somehow the way it's supposed to be. Before all this stuff was said and done, we moved around the same way the animals do. We walked around everywhere, ran occasionally, you know, lifting things, building things, all this kind of stuff. So this is just what we did on, like, as a normal thing, you know, all day long. So like, we over time as humans decided that we would build this kind of society, which I am glad for a lot of this stuff, but we have to admit, some of what we do is not really good for our health. Some of these conveniences that we've built in are actually not good for us. So you're designed to move all day. That's why I say, could it be that the reason why you and I are not really getting in the best of shape is because of the kind of society that we formed that makes us think that we're okay with just getting 30 minutes or an hour of exercising in a day. So I get it. I know that there's thoughts about, you know, how much you can exercise, like, because you got to work to make money and all that kind of stuff. Trust me. And I will say at this point in my life, I'm a lot more flexible than I used to be, because I am a full-time entrepreneur. Most of my time working, I was an engineer working a 9 to 5. That's one of the reasons I like being an entrepreneur, because I have a lot more control of my schedule, but I still get busy. So you still have to kind of decide what you want to do. You also don't have to work out an hour at a time, or whatever. You can do quick sessions, 15 to 30 minutes, 2 or 3 times a day. You may not be able to work out for hours. Then again, but my point is, so case in point, and I mentioned this in a video recently. So when I was training to be a personal trainer, when I was studying to be a personal trainer, I'm just gonna do 4 reps here because I have a lot of soreness in these muscles. I gotta take it easy, kind of warm up. So when I was studying to be a personal trainer, I learned through, that the American College of Sports Medicine recommends 150 minutes of exercise a week for somebody who wants to maintain their weight, and then at least 250 to 300 minutes of exercise a week for somebody who wants to lose weight. Okay, 150 minutes a week, that's 30 minutes, 5 days a week. That's the bare minimum to maintain. And a lot of us ain't even getting that. 250, 300 minutes a week is 50 to 60 minutes, 5 days a week. Okay, which seems like a lot. But then contrast that with people who play sports or actors and stuff like that. Again, I know that they are paid to do this stuff in some cases. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. Even if you consider like bodybuilders and stuff, a lot of these guys are doing that stuff on their own dime. But look at the results that you get. I think that it would be a good idea for us to break this mindset that says, okay, I just need to go in and get my little quick workout session if you're trying to get results. Now keep in mind, and I'm gonna rearrange this in a second, but keep in mind that your diet really matters too. Your diet is huge, and a lot of times people try to out exercise a bad diet. It's not a good idea. One, because it takes a lot of exercise sometimes to exercise out a lot of junk food, but then 2, it's certain things with junk food you can't exercise out, like the chemicals and all that kind of stuff. So like my point is, again, keeping the diet in mind, we got to break this mindset that says, I just need to check the box. I just need to check the exercise box. What would happen if, for example, so in my area, we have a 5K coming up. And I've done it a lot, not a lot recently. I think I did it last year, but over the years, I've done it off and on. But say, for example, you were to decide you want to run that, and this one comes up in September, so that means you really only have about a month to train. So not ideal, but what if you were like, you know what? I still want to see how good I can do it. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna go in hard. I'm gonna do, for example, hard intervals in the morning, and then in the afternoon or close to the dinner time, I'm gonna go and run kind of more so for like time. I'm gonna set my watch for a certain amount of time and just determine myself to not stop, even if I'm going slow. What if you did that? And then maybe other days just to kind of mix it up, and especially at the age of 40 or over, you were to do other stuff like maybe some strength training for endurance, and different other activities, walking and stuff for recovery. What if you did that? What if you switched that? Again, the most compelling thing to me that makes me inclined toward exercising more during the day is the fact that the human body is literally designed for that kind of stuff. It's literally designed that way, So your body is literally designed to work that way. And so I think it's about time that we really kind of start to operate in a way that makes sense. in a way that goes along with the way that we're designed anyway. You know what I mean? So just case in point, because I don't want this video to be too long, but case in point, yesterday, I had 2 exercise sessions. It was my cardio day. So in the earlier part of the day, I did intervals at the track, run about 75% 75 to 80% of my speed, 100 meters, and then walk 100 meters. And run 100 meters, walk 100 meters, doing that for 20 minutes, okay? And then later on in the day, I set a timer, I did it for about 20, 25 minutes. I jump rope for 5 minutes straight, then bring it in and do some sit-ups. And then go back out, do 5 more minutes, and then do some sit-ups. And then went back out again, and then came back in, and not sit-ups, crunches, and did those. So 2 exercise sessions. Not necessarily ultra long, but definitely like relatively high intensity. And of course, I've been stretching every night, and I stretch after my workout sessions too. And so today was my upper body day. So, you know, chest and back, arms. So earlier today, I was at the gym, and so I did 4 sets of bench press. And then I did 4 sets of barbell rows. And then I did a few sets of crunches. I do crunches every day. And then I did arms. So I did curls. And I did tricep pull downs. Okay. But that wasn't all my workout. So now here at my house, I'm doing push-ups, 4 sets. And then I'm doing pull-ups. Of course, I'm kind of having to take it real easy with pull-ups because I've been experiencing a lot of soreness. I gotta really kind of deal with some inflammation a little bit, or like just kind of make sure I recover well. So then it's a lot of mosquitoes out here too. But 4 sets of pull-ups. And of course, every time I do a set of push-ups, you see me using this TRX band to kind of do some inner chest. I'm bringing this across there to really train that inner chest. Second workout, okay? Now, ideally, I would have done some walking as well, you know, which would be either added to one of my other workouts or be considered workout number 3. But that's kind of the point that I'm making. This is the kind of stuff that I'm doing kind of as an experiment, but also because I believe it's a healthier way of living. Now, the ideal thing to do would be to make exercise as much a part of our lives as we could, like walking to work, you know, picking active jobs, doing our own lawn work, you know, preferably by foot and stuff like that. But we live in a different society, so you kind of have to make something work. The key is to do whatever you can to be healthy, and I believe working out multiple times a day is ideal. If you're 40 and over like me, and you've been trying to get in shape, and you just haven't been seeing the results you want to see, would you consider working out more than once a day? You know, so 3 days a week, 30 minutes, great. You're getting your heart pumping, all that kind of stuff. I'm proud of you. But what about 30 minutes to an hour, 2 or 3 times a day, if you really want to get those results? Of course, given that you're recovering, given that you're eating well, you know, at least 80% of your diet is good. What if you did that? How fast would your body change? Let me know what you think about this, working out 2 or 3 times a day, over 40. Let me know in the comments, you know, because I want to hear what you guys have to say. Maybe some of you guys already do this. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a great day.